Episode 5 of Injuries Overcome. Today I'm joined by someone who's had quite a, I would say, unique experience in football. Safe to say it's impressive that Mark, one, is sat here today, and two, is able to talk about a professional career that he had when, I mean, no disrespect there, but in a way, it's, on the other hand, it's unlikely you could have had a career. So, first of all, how are you, Mark? What are you up to now, and how are things?
Yeah, no, I'm all good. I'm still working in football. I still work at Newport County in a little bit of a player care role where I'm there to help the players. I'm there to be a shoulder to lean on if they need anything, and just to be there to try and guide them in the right direction and things that I could have done better, but also in a way of just kind of seeing football as the bigger picture, because I think you can get bogged down a lot of the time with, again, injuries or not playing in a team, and managers not really liking you, and all these different scenarios that happen in football that not many people speak about or know about. That hopefully I can be that person that can kind of just always be the one to give them that little bit of encouragement, that different perspective to try and overcome that and keep themselves going. And as I said, it's something I've kind of fallen into, but I've loved every minute of it. So since retiring, it's taken me a while to get to here. But now that I'm here, it's kind of like I'm seeing the different side of life that I never knew I was gonna have to face. But yeah, it's everything so far is going really well.
Yeah, because it's quite a unique job at a football club, the role that you've got. I know for me, I don't really have much idea of it. It's only when I started doing these podcasts with people that now aren't playing football that you sort of realise what their life was and what they had to go through. It's not just a case of you turn up every day for training and a match. There's so many other things. Like, you are an example of someone that's come over from Dublin at such a young age, at 16, to Derby, and then you sort of all on your own, so to speak. So I suppose, is that the reason why you want to do this job?
Yeah, as I said, I think I've been through everything that you can kind of go through in football, where I've had cruciate ligament injuries, I've had big moments. I've started my career that made me debut when I was 16, so you're riding the roller coaster really high, and then at 16 I got told I needed open heart surgery and I may never play again, and I shouldn't play again. So the two contrasts in that in itself was just something that really struck me. And then as my career went on, I'd done really well at some clubs, and then an injury would come and then I'm back down low again. And I always had that kind of battle between the adversity and then bouncing back from it, and then using what I've gone through to then bounce back from that. And everything always seemed like a bit of a battle, but at the same time it was just something that I think this role kind of fell into my path, really, just because since retiring, it showed me so many more perspectives and more understanding of life itself. It showed me more understanding of, I would say, depressions, anxieties, panic attacks, worries, all these different things that I was experiencing that I never really paid attention to, or I never really understood when I was in football. But the more that, the fact that I went through all that, to be able to relate that to people now and understand and see people where you create unique relationships with people. People have to trust you, and people have to have that relationship with you, that you can notice on them that if they aren't seeming quite themselves, rather than just going about your life and just thinking everybody is wonderful just because they say they're okay, you kind of see different sides of people where you notice when they're not good and when they are good. And as I said, I do enjoy being able to influence and hopefully impact someone's life individually. And a lot of people have asked me about go down the coaching role and managements and all these different things, but I just think on an individual basis, to be able to, even if it's one player to 10 players to a whole squad of players, it's something that if that one individual feels as though I was able to help them at a time they were struggling, or they needed a little bit of a helping hand, or even if they needed that little bit of a push from behind, that I want to be that person. And I always feel as though I benefit a lot more from trying to help people. Even when I was a player, I got to captain Newport and different things, and even when I was that, even when I wasn't a captain, I always wanted to be a person in the squad to keep people smiling, to keep the morale going, to try and push people along, to try and help people along the way, young or old. And that's just the person that I've always been through my life. And this kind of role, as well as everything that I've gone through and stuff I'm able to relate to through a football career, it just goes hand in hand with itself. And again, yeah, I'm loving every minute of it.
Yeah, great. I mean, it's a great sort of role to be able to help, as you say, like young players coming through, but also the older ones that may not necessarily speak about how they feel and stuff. So it's really good. I was just wondering if you could go back to that life changing sort of situation that you were in at such a young age. Talk to me about that and sort of what you had to go through, because it's quite again, I've read in your book, it's quite a dramatic. It's nothing small, put it that way.
Yeah. When I was at Derby, and I moved over, I made my debut in May 2009, and obviously everything was going great, and I thought like the world was at my feet, and Derby were delighted, and my family were so happy. And I came back for that pre-season in July, and I went for a routine heart scan, which is the normal like medical that you normally get when you play. And they found that I had like a minor leak in my aortic valve, and it was something where at the time they told me it's not going to affect me football. It's something that people live with. It's something that people go about their lives with, and it can go undetected. And they said that was one of them things just to keep an eye on, but I can carry on training. Maybe something later in life will need an operation. And then as weeks passed and more weeks passed, they started to notice that my heart rate was up like extremely high. And my heart rate, I think the maximum it went to was 227 or 230. And my average heart rate was 204. So my heart rate was never coming down when I was exercising. So that kind of raised alarm bells to themselves, where they thought like they didn't know why. So then they kind of put two and two together and sent me off for another scan just to see how things were. And I went for an MRI scan. They told me on the MRI scan that on a scale of 1 to 10, my valve was leaking about a 7 or an 8. So then that was something where it started to raise more alarm bells, and they passed on that information to another doctor. I went to see another doctor, and all of this is happening in the space of 3 and 4 months. So like, well, in the space of like 2-3 months, to be honest, that I went to see another doctor. And then after I went to see that doctor again, they looked at all the results and said, look, Mark, you probably won't need an operation for 20 or 30 years. So it went from 50 or 60 years to 20 or 30 years in the space of a month. And after all of that, he goes, I'm going to send it off to a surgeon. And when we send it off to a surgeon, we'll see what his take on it all would be. So I carried on a little bit of training and whatever. And I wasn't feeling anything. I wasn't feeling any effects. It was literally something that I couldn't understand, like how it was happening or what was going on. But I knew obviously it wasn't great. And then we went to meet the surgeon. And I remember we were sitting in this little small room, and the surgeon came in. It was my mum, my dad, and the Derby physio at the time, Neil Sullivan, and we were all just sitting in the office. And the surgeon came in, and as he walked into the room, like he put his notes on the desk, and he just kind of turned around with a model heart in his hand and said, "Right, Mark, your heart is 3 times the size of what it should be, and if you don't have the operation done this year, you're gonna die." And then at that point, it was kind of like the out of body experience where you can't be speaking to me like, oh, this can't be happening. Like I only made me debut last year, and now this year, like a couple of months later, you're telling me I'm going to die. So he sat and he explained everything that was going on about a bicuspid valve and exactly what it is, and where when the blood leaks back in from the aortic valve and it pumps back out, my heart is working twice as hard just to kind of keep the blood flow and keep it pumped. And literally, he made the example of saying like a balloon that you get out of a fresh pack. If you blow that up to the fullest and it goes straight back down, he said it will never go back down to normal size. He said that's how your heart is. But he said every single time it's just increasing and getting larger and larger. And he said at some stage in your life, he said in the next couple of months or weeks, if you carry on how you're going, he said you'll wake up one morning and he said you'll be extremely tired, and he said your heart will just stop. And that was something that I don't think I was taking much of it in, even though I remember everything that was said. it was something that I wasn't really taking in, because all I asked him was, can I still play football? I never said anything about like, well, what does this mean and anything. I just literally said, can I still play football? And he always told me, I'll be lucky to play down the park with my friends. He said probably a professional career will never happen, because to get to those physical capabilities of training every day and the standard that professional football is, he says you probably won't reach it again. But it was something where I got given the options of a metallic valve. I got given the options of a pigskin valve, and I got given the options of the lung valve and aortic valve. To swap them around, that I'd get more longevity out of that, because it would be my own tissues and different things like that. And that was just something that straight away I asked, like, what's the best one to give me a best chance of playing? And he said, well, if you go for the pigskin valve, it means you won't be on any medication, or, well, for a long period of time. And then after that, you can potentially get back. But he said also, with it being a pigskin valve, he said it'll probably could last you a year to a maximum of 5 years. And he said there's no guarantee that it will give you the 5 years. He said it's just one of those things that if it takes to your body, great, and then you can carry on. If it doesn't and rejects, you have to come back in and go for something else. And at that time, all I said to him was, right, I'll go for that. Like, I didn't even like second guess it. I didn't even think anything different. I just literally went straight for that one, because it was the only one that gave me the option of playing again. Because with the metallic valve, it meant I would have been on blood thinners for the rest of my life, which means you can't play contact sport. So I ended up like choosing to go in for the pigskin valve. And from what was 20 or 30 years, he said, okay, he looked at his diary and said, we can do it within the next 2 weeks. And within the next 2 weeks, like, everything just felt so sudden. And yeah, it never really gave me time to think. I ended up flying home. Derby let me fly home to Dublin for 2 weeks to be with my family. And I think just everything after that, I think just all kind of like fell into itself, that I went home for 2 weeks, came back, had the open heart surgery, which, again, if I was to be honest with myself and look back, like, I didn't sleep a wink the night before the operation. Like, I had like a lot of like worries, but at the same time, it was more, right, I want to get this done. I want to get it out of the way. Like, I was still 16. Like, I didn't really know what was going on. So, like, I was able to kind of look at it and say, have the operation. Let's get back playing football and let's see what happens. Like, it wasn't, let's have the operation and potentially I might not wake up. Had to have the operation and football or something can go like terribly wrong. There was none of them feelings at all. So being so young, it kind of went in my favour. But I had the operation in the September, October time of that year, and then got back, like, it was successful, as I'm still here. But it's one of them things that I ended up getting back playing by April, May time at the end of that season, and I made the first team bench by May. And it was at that moment that I was like, right, I'm back. And I don't know, it was just that one thing, even though as scary as it was and as scary as it can be, that kind of made my career better, because I was able to look at everything that I had, from a cruciate ligament injury to a microfracture, all in the same knee. And I looked at that and thought, well, if I can get back from open heart, I can get back from this. And then another injury or something would come about. And if I can get back from that, I can get back from this. So it was something that, even though at the beginning was so scary, it molded my career to help it in the best way possible, because it allowed me to enjoy football that little bit more. It allowed me to appreciate football a lot more, but it allowed me not to get caught up with really other bad injuries that can happen, because I always felt, well, if I can get back from that, I can get back from this. And there was just nothing that was going to stop me.
Yeah, I mean, it's genuinely incredible, as you've already said, to play for as long as you did. Although it may not have been the longevity that you wanted, you still managed to get back playing and so quickly on the bench for Derby. How, going forward from that, did it feel, or what did it ever cross your mind? Were you ever worried of the thought that when you were playing that something could happen, or to be wary of something that's like the operation and stuff? Was it ever in the back of your mind when you were playing?
Do you know what? It never was in the back of my mind, because I was always, football was my distraction. So like when I trained, when I played, I didn't think of anything other than football in the moment I was in, and that was it. So I never worried about if something can go wrong, if that might happen, if this might happen. The only time that worry ever came to me was every single season I would have a heart scan in between every season or at the end of every season. And in that heart scan, it would tell me if I was allowed to play next year or not. So every single year. So the closer it got to that heart scan, that's when the worries came. That's when the panics came. That's when I would sit and really think about, this could be like this could be my last season. This could be my last time kicking a ball. This could be my last time doing anything. If this scan comes back and tells me that something's wrong, I'll have to retire. I can't do this again. And all these worries and everything was just come out of me, because it was almost like then all of a sudden the doctor would tell me, for instance, and say, Mark, your valve is fine. Yeah, you can carry on. And then straight away, it's like a weight off my shoulders that I didn't even know the weight was there. And then I'd go out and play again like there was nothing wrong. And that's literally how my career was. So that whole thing of play every season like it's going to be a last, I play every game like it's going to be a last, that is literally the scenario I lived. Because every single season, even if I signed a 4-year deal somewhere, I didn't know if that was going to end up being a 4-year deal. That could have been a 1-year deal. It could have been a 6-month deal, even in the 4 years. But that's just the only thing I was ever looking at and be proud of, is to say, when I got back playing, I only ever wanted to be treated as a footballer. Like, I didn't want to be treated as, well, he's got this heart problem and we like him as a player, but we're not going to sign him because of this. Like, I only ever wanted to be judged on me as a player. And the fact I was able to get back to that, and not many people know about me heart stuff, like, as I rarely spoke about it too openly, and I never really, if anybody asked me, it was always, yeah, it's fine, I'm okay. Like, I had the operation, but everything's okay now. Like, I didn't want to raise any alarms that, by the way, I'm panicking about this, and this. And just, it was something that, like, it was only as time got closer to the scans every year, that was the only time that I really ever thought about worry or something going wrong or something happening. Because once I was out there playing, there was not a single worry that I had, because I was actually living the life I gave myself a chance to live, and I couldn't complain. Like, I was just, as you say, like, I was just like a little kid. I was just happy doing what I was doing.
Yeah, I suppose it's yeah, living each season like it could be your last. Although you say like you didn't think about it too much up until the end of that, I suppose it doesn't do much good for your heart anyway when you're told, oh, you can play. So you've gone from going all the way down to, right, let's get back up again. That must have been sort of a roller coaster even then.
Yeah, like, everything was a roller coaster. Like, and that was like the fun of it. That was also the parts that made me. And that's why sometimes, like, when I do speak so openly, is the fact of anything that I did go through, they are the parts that made me. If I didn't have the open heart surgery, like, and it's not to say that I didn't love football, but would I have had the career that I've had? Could I have got better? Could I have got, like, there's all these things that, but everything that I went through prepared me for that next thing. So the open heart surgery that I had at 16, I done my ACL on my cruciate ligament in 2 years later. So, like, that open heart surgery prepared me for that, and I could map out my life to tell you scenario after scenario, that it all seems very connected in a way. But every single downtime that I had just made me that bit stronger for that next thing, and then maybe that little bit stronger for that next thing, and then again, I came across scenarios in my career that, do you know what, like, I wouldn't want to wish upon people, but it happens in football where managers don't like you, and you're training with development teams, and you're training with a kid with a bunch of kids and all these different things. But when you put everything that you've gone through on a bad basis and then go to that one scenario and say, right, well, if I've come through every single bit of that, this other scenario won't beat me. And it literally was that through my whole career. And again, it's just something where my career happened for how it happened. But once I made it past 5, 6, like, even the fact that I made it back a year, it's something that I got told at 16 I'll probably never play again. So to get 10, 11, nearly 12 years out of the game of something that got told that you'd never, there's not one thing that I look back on and think to myself, do you know what? I could have done this better, or that might have been better. Like, everything that I've just kind of gone through is something that has led me on to the next thing. And if anything, like, I look back and I say that, like, I'm proud of everything and I'm happy of everything. And to be able to give that back to other players now, and to be able to give different perspectives, like, as I said, like, everything kind of has all fallen into place, and everything, to me, it makes sense to say everything has all happened for that reason. Everything has all just come around to itself to kind of say, well, I went through that to be here, and if I didn't go here, I wouldn't have been there. And to be where I'm at right now, I wouldn't be able to help this person, or to be able to speak about this. So, like, again, I just used every last bit of experiences that I've went through to just be where I'm at right now, and just to be happy. Do you know what I mean? Like, and genuinely sit here and say I can genuinely just be happy with everything. And again, the majorities of worries have gone to every single season. Like, them worries have probably hindered me more now than they did back then, because I don't have a distraction. I don't have anything that's distracting me. I don't have something where I'm going out to kick a ball every day. So worries that I should have had when I was playing, thinking the worst of the worst can happen, I probably have them now because I haven't got anything that's distracting me. So I'm having to deal with it now, rather than when I probably should have dealt with it years ago.
Yeah, and obviously you spoke in length about, and you've been quite open about sort of the mental health struggles you've had as well, such as like panic attacks. I know I'm someone that has struggled with those, not necessarily now, but certainly the first sort of 6 to 8 months of my injury. Panic attacks were always a thing that was coming up. I was waking up in the night and stuff. What's your advice, or how did you cope with first having them? Because obviously a panic attack is like, or not like, but sort of the feeling of potential heart attack. And obviously, you've had heart surgery, so that must have been extra stressful for you when you thought, "Oh God, no, not again," sort of thing.
Yeah, do you know what? Like, and you hit the nail on the head with the, oh no, not again. Like, that was the first thing that came into my head. Was like, I remember I was laying in bed and I kind of woke up in a bit of a panic, but I could feel myself being really lightheaded, and I could feel all different things. And out of nowhere, I'd start shivering, shaking, couldn't breathe. I could feel like my hands sweating. I could feel my heart thumping, and everything that was going on, I was just thinking, "Oh no, it's leaking again. Oh no, something's wrong." And that in itself, again, was just something that really scared me. Like, that was the first time that I didn't feel in control of anything I was doing. Like, everything that was just out of my hands, to say, like, why is this happening? I don't get why this is happening. And like, I done a lot of counselling after my open heart surgery. I done a lot of counselling to speak to people, to just try and get different perspectives on why. Like, I'm always a big person on why. Why has this happened? Why is this going on? How can I stop it? Why is this happening to me? And if I know a why, you feel as though you can control it, and maybe you can then deal with it a bit better because you know why it's happening. But when it's panic attacks, and when it's anxieties, and when it's mental health, sometimes there's not a why. Sometimes there's never a why, and it just happens. And sometimes you have to try and figure it out or deal with it. And that is something that I struggled with, because even when I was doing counselling, like, I was getting told, "Mark, you're being too hard on yourself. You've just gone through traumatic open heart surgery, not for the first time, the second time." And I'm sitting there, like, kind of looking at them thinking, I know all of this, but why is this happening? Like, I know everything that you're telling me, but why is it happening? And then I started to learn about different things of, well, you know what? Sometimes it's about accepting where I'm at, because at some point along the line, you're fighting against something. And I spoke with two lads, who, one was an ex-professional golfer and one's an ex-professional footballer. And when I spoke to these two lads, I done a podcast with them, and then afterwards they messaged me and they started a group chat with me because they could see I was really struggling. And them in themselves probably began where I'm at right now, because they helped me just understand everything. Like, because I was able to speak to someone with the same perspectives, with the same understanding of what it's like to retire from football, what it's like to feel the things that I'm feeling. Like, they couldn't relate to an open heart surgery to what somebody else could. But I think the biggest thing for me was the retirement from football. And that was something that was playing on me a lot. But the things that they taught me were just, you have to accept the here and now. Like, I could always look back and fight and say, I want to be Mark the footballer. I want to be how I was when I played. I want to be that strong. I want to be that leader. I want to be this and I want to be that. And like, I can always look back and want to be all them things. And if I want to fight with myself to be that, I'm never, ever, ever going to win, because I have to accept that. Like, you know what? That's what I was. And that's where I was successful, and that was great. But this is where I'm at now. And where I'm at right now, I can build from now to get back to being something even greater than what I was. And sometimes, like you say, when it's going through an injury or it's going through the recovery from open heart surgery, you can always wish back to saying, I wish I was still playing. I wish that didn't happen. Or if that happened, that probably wouldn't have gone the same way that I would have done it if it happens again. And it's the same with the open heart surgery. Well, I hope this never happens again. And everything is always looking back. And I'll look back at what could have happened and what should have been. And that sometimes brings worry and stress on your shoulders, that it's like, well, I can't control that anymore. I can't affect that anymore. And as well as that, when you look forward about the time scale you might be back and the different things where you might be going and everywhere where you might be, I can't control what might happen. I can literally only control what will happen to me today and potentially what might happen to me tomorrow. And these things just became a lot simpler to me and a lot more understanding to how I'm feeling in this moment. Well, then, you know what? Accept it. Don't fight it. Because the minute you fight it, your body will try and fight you even harder, and your mind will fight you even harder. And your mind is something that, even for me, I've realised that your mind will always win, because there's always going to be that little niggle in the back of your mind to say, yeah, but what if? Who knows? That might happen. And that will always win. So if you sit there and go, okay, let it happen, and then you realise nothing's happening, then all of a sudden you're starting to win because you're taking that control back. So sometimes it's literally, you don't fight it. And it took me a while. And don't get me wrong, like, I still struggle with that sometimes now. Like, I'm not sitting saying like I'm perfect and I know exactly what I'm doing with myself. Like, I'm still learning everything, where I'll still have a panic sometimes. I'll wake up in the middle of the night and my heart is thumping and I'm thinking, right. But sometimes I'll just like kind of lay there with it and just go, right, whatever's going to happen is going to happen. And nothing happens, and then you fall back asleep. And that's sometimes where it might give you a bit of a panic for a while. But I've learned to not let that get worse. Because sometimes where I've woken up and my heart is thumping and I'm panicking, I'd worry about the heart thumping and I'd get even more panicked and I'd get even more worried. Whereas sometimes it's kind of just go, just accept it. Right, it's happening. And then you kind of just go and then bring yourself back down to earth a little bit, and you just kind of go, right, I am okay. And that's sometimes having that reassurance for yourself to say, actually, I am okay, is something where you can sit and just go, right, now I have the control again. And it's all about having that control for yourself. Because sometimes things that you can't control will bring on anxiety, will bring on worry. But then when you bring yourself back to the things you can control, then all of a sudden they become less relevant, and what you can control becomes more relevant.
Yeah, I can definitely relate to you on that. I mean, when I had my second surgery back in November, I think it was, definitely, although it wasn't anything as serious as what I had, all I was having was one of the screws removed from one of my bones because it was rubbing up against my ligaments. But it was causing me so much pain that looking forward, I was thinking so far ahead, thinking I'm going back to this, I could lose my leg again, all this sort of worry about something that hadn't actually happened yet. And it only, for around me, it took the people that were closest to me to sort of reassure me and keep me calmer. And looking back on it now, as you said, although it wasn't anywhere near as bad, I managed to deal with it better because of what I've been through before. So going sort of away from that, the people around you, who were those people, including, I know you spoke about how Derby and Newport have been so vital in your career before and after. Who were the people, the individuals, would you say, or is there loads of people that sort of helped you through your career and after?
Do you know what? I would say there's a lot of people. And I'll be doing sometimes a bit of a disservice of potentially forgetting names, but it is from Derby times of Nigel Clough as a manager. Without him, I probably wouldn't have had a career. I wouldn't have had a life. I wouldn't have had anything. Like, him as a manager helped me a lot through a lot of things. Derby as a club, Neil Sullivan was the physio in Derby. I always remember having the conversation of going, look, we're going to do the best of what we can. Like, how do you rehab a heart? Like, they're used to rehabbing hamstrings, quads, and they helped me in something that was so outside their field kind of thing that it was a bit kind of extreme. Steve Haynes, who was the fitness coach, like, that alone in Derby were people that I was just like, you know what? Without them, I wouldn't have had the beginning of a life that I've had in football. Like, they helped me through a lot, and these are people that I still keep in contact with now. And then going through my career, like, I've had very, very good teammates and real mates that have become more than teammates. Like Jeff Hendrick is one. Like, I always go back and I'd say, like, I grew up with him playing against him in Ireland, then being in the same team as him at Derby and stuff. And he was someone that has always been a really good friend to me over the years and stuff like that. And again, as time was just going on, like, in all these different places, like, you pick up friends along the way. And I was just so lucky with the people that I've come in contact with, because even at Newport, like, I can say it open-heartedly, like, the likes of, say, Graham Wesley or Dino Maria gave me the opportunity to come to Newport when my career was down. Like, on a career aspect, they helped me massively and gave me a chance. Michael Flynn, Wayne Hatswell were two people that were my main managers of Newport and helped me so much through everything and gave me opportunity, made me captain, and we created some of the most amazing memories. And even after football, allowed me to come back in and allowed me to be part of the group, allowed me to be part of the backroom staff, which is, as I said, led to where I'm at now. So them and themselves on and off the field have been like two amazing people for me. Teammates, and even people who have become, again, more than teammates, like Mickey Demetrio, a centre half from here that we played alongside each other, is like a genuine good friend of mine now. Like, he's someone that I lived with, someone that we signed at the same time, and we just made some, like, great memories here. But also off the field, he was someone that if I needed a helping hand, he was there. He was helping me with anything and everything that I've ever needed. And again, someone I can call a friend. Like Matty Dolan is like a brother to me, is like someone that I remember, like, even if I want to speak about after the, like, when I was going through one of my panic attacks, I found him it was probably 12:30 at night, nearly 1 o'clock in the morning, and I found him, and the first thing that he did was come around to my apartment, pack a bag and take me to his apartment and take me to his house, because he was like, I'll be there, I'll help you. And he just knew what to say, how to say it, when to say it. And he was just someone who was there through everything. And as well as that, like I say, it was someone that just became a really good friend. As I said, like family. Josh Labadie, another person who was the club captain here, but became really close friends, lived with me for a while, and he helped me. Jamil, Matt, like, I could go through the whole squad of Newport when I played. Like, it's just so many people that Joe Day, the goalkeeper, like, names just keep popping in. The club doctor, Daniel Vaughan, Tom Gittos, Lewis Binns, the physios and sports scientists, like, all of them, through everything that I went through. Like, there's just so many people that, do you know what, when you look back at it and you kind of think, well, doing things on your own sometimes just isn't possible. As much as you want to feel as though, no, I'm okay and I'll do this myself and everything's fine, it's just not possible. And I had to learn that the hard way, because I tried doing things myself, and I tried being no, I'm okay. I don't want to burden you. I don't want to be a burden. I don't want to make my issues your issues. Like, you don't need to hear any of this. Like, I'm going through it. It's me that's dealing with it. And again, I can even say, like, my mom, my dad, my brother, like, at the time, I had an ex-girlfriend, and she tried to help me as much as she could through everything. So, like, there was so many people that, again, like I say, the list is endless. And it is something that all of these people contributed to me at certain points. And at those certain points is exactly what I needed. So, like, it wasn't like they were there consistently and everybody all at once came together in one big group chat and they were all urging me and pushing me along. It was like at each individual time, and every time I was getting that little bit better and a little bit stronger, somebody else would chip in with something that I just needed at that time. And then somebody else again would chip in with something that I needed at that time. And it just, yeah, like, it just opened my eyes to to kind of thinking, do you know what, when people say like it's okay and like you need to open up and speak, like I am a big advocate for speaking, because without me being strong enough to talk, then I wouldn't have been in a position to get all the help that I got. So like it kind of balance itself out to say, okay, what people may feel giving up is getting counselling, getting help, and speaking and talking about feelings. That's me giving in, and I'm hoping somebody else will help me. Like that is probably in my eyes one of the strongest thing you can do, because that's another form of not giving up. Another form of not giving up is me saying to somebody, I am really struggling, like I don't know what I'm doing with myself, and allowing that other person to help is another form of help for yourself, that you underestimate, or you think to yourself, well, do you know what, if I tell this person I feel weak, I feel like they shouldn't need to help me, like I should be able to do this, I'm not strong because I'm needing somebody. But that is probably one of the strongest thing people underestimate, that the minute you ask for help is the minute that you're allowing yourself to be helped. You're allowing yourself to be on that proper straight and narrow, rather than the spiral that you find yourself on at the beginning when you don't speak to a single person. So I think with everybody around me, and I know that like I've listed off a lot of people, like there's probably so many more, but everybody at some stage in my life has helped me and contributed to me, that they'll be in my life forever. Whether they like it or not, they'll be in my life forever, because people like that to me just mean the world, because at my lowest, they were there. Whether I needed it or not, they were there. And now when I'm back to feeling okay and feeling fine, they know, well, do you know what? If he ever needs me again, I'm there. But now I'm in a position where I can go, well, if you ever need me, I'm there. And that's why I say in the role that I'm in, I'm glad I can be that person, to be strong enough now to say, yeah, I can be there for you just as much. Pick up your phone, come see me, and I'll be there, because that's the person I enjoy being. So, as I said, it was a roller coaster, but everybody played a pivotal part in my life. Like it wasn't just me sitting here as a success story saying, do you know what, I sat in my room and I just done all this myself. Like I needed so much help, but I'm thankful for the help and I don't regret getting the help.
Yeah, I had a feeling that the list would be quite a long one and not enough time, I was sure, to list every single person, which is a compliment to everybody around you. Um, Sort of one final question then. What, obviously you spoke just then, was a great piece of advice, but what is your three pieces of advice for anybody going through struggles, whether it be an injury or a health condition or any sort of mental health issue? What would be, I try to keep it to three. What would be your three biggest advice pieces you could give to somebody?
I'd say like my three pieces of advice for anybody going through a certain struggle is, one, you kind of sit and you assess your situation and you kind of understand it. You sit in it and understand it, because sitting in it and understanding it allows you to be able to break it down, and it allows you to be able to see the pattern and everything, to understand, well, why am I here? I think anybody who's gone through a certain struggle, to look how far they've probably come from something before, like use past experiences. And sometimes I always say, don't always look back. But at the same time, if you're going through a certain struggle now, you look back at where you've come from, if you've had a certain struggle before, and you look back and go, well, I came through that, I can do this. Because that's how my life was. I looked back at something to say, if I can make it through that, I can make it through this. Like, don't look back at it. Look back at it as a silver lining, to look back at your life to say, I've come this far, this isn't going to stop me. And then when this doesn't stop me, this next thing won't stop me. Like, that is probably like my biggest thing, that in any sort of face of adversity that I've gone through, I've just used that, what has happened to me before. And that in itself for me is just something that, again, gave me a life and gave me a career. Because even now, when I come up to feel certain things and do certain things in my life now, it's kind of like, do you know what? It is something where, well, if I got back from that 3 years ago, I can do this. If I got back from me having a panic attack last year, this one is going to be nothing. So like I say, like using your past experiences to provide for your like now is to help somebody going forward. And sometimes I think something just as simple as, do you know what? You wake up each morning and there's always a song that like I got played to me before after my operation, but it's literally something where you wake up each morning to just be grateful that you opened your eyes. Sometimes the biggest of struggles and the biggest of worries come from, well, when you wake up, I didn't do this, I didn't do that, I need to do this, I need to do that, I need to do this. The fact of just waking up that morning to just say, do you know what? I'm going to give it one more day. I'm going to give myself one more day. I'm going to give it another day. And giving yourself then one more day is, before you know it, you could be a week down the line of these one more days that end up making you something else. Because I heard that when I was like flicking through Instagram, and a video popped up about a fella speaking about saying his best advice was one more day. And once like I kind of heard that, like for myself, it meant so much, because I live off one more day where I'm just like, you know what, today mightn't be a great day, but I'm going to manage myself through it, get myself through it, and be great through it. But you know what, I'm going to give it one more day. And I break things down so simply where, again, looking back into my past, I had a doctor telling me I should be dead at 27. I should have been dead. The way my heart was, I should have been dead. So for me to wake up every morning now is me being grateful to go, well, you know what, at least I'm awake. And that again is so simple, and it's simple to me, but you find that, well, what's your reason for waking up? And my reason is because, you know what, I got told this, I shouldn't be awake. Basically, I should be dead. So if somebody can find a reason why they're awake and be able to put that into their ways forward of going, well, at least I'm awake, and do you know what? If I don't feel like doing something today, I'm going to listen to my body and I won't do something. And then sometimes, you know what? I might have to be the person that has to push myself to do that one walk to a shop, one walk around the block. So, like, I don't think there's one certain thing that will one bit of advice suits all. I think it's about finding your own little niche of it, like what suits you, because it is about the individual. And what's good for me mightn't be good for you. And what's good for you mightn't be good for me. And I'll be sitting going, I couldn't do that. And what I'm doing, you probably say, you couldn't do that. But then when you find your own little niche thing, the fact of the matter is we're both finding our own comfort zone to then be able to come together and sit and talk. And I just think speaking and opening up is something, the most strongest thing that anybody can do. So if I want to add that on at the end of everything that I've just said, opening up and speaking and finding, whether it's going to a counsellor, going to a random person, or going to a close family member, because I've realised now and see it a lot that people struggle going to close family members, and people struggle going to people close to them, because you're meant to be the strong person. I'm meant to be the strong one. I can't go to my mum because my mum thinks I'm this strong person and I don't want her to see me weak. Whereas sometimes find that right individual that you just feel comfortable with and offload everything, because then that one little bit of offloading might give you that little bit of an insight to what they might say that might make you go, I never thought of it like that. And then that one thing could just spark something that allows you to go on to better and better things.
Yeah, I couldn't have put it better myself. Thank you. No, that was really good. I appreciate it. Thank you again for taking the time to talk. I know it's cut a little bit short. Again, I feel like I could hear you talk for a very, very long time. I mean, I haven't even spoken about the book, but I appreciate you taking the time to chat today.
No, it's no problem at all. Thanks very much.